Hello everybody, it's me, Riffraff Hornhelm, and I'm back again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault, and today we have a monster review. Today we're going to talk to you about the DRYAD, and that's the DRYAD as given to us from the original monster manual for use with Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, Basic Dungeons & Dragons, and Advanced, which is typically called 1E today. So the DRYAD is a... well, not to be too blunt about it, but it's very much of a elvish type creature. I don't care for these, and I gotta say that as dwarves, we really don't run across these very often. But you do run across them in forests and heavily forested settings, and you'll always find a DRYAD near its tree, and it's usually a big tree. So, like I said, from a dwarven standpoint, we've had some run-in with dryads, but it's always been because we've been out chopping wood, and, oh well, things happen. So these are an uncommon creature that you run into in deeply forested areas, and like I said, a dryad's always going to be around trees, and specifically, its own tree. Now, they're a 9 armor class creature. They only have 2 hit dice, so not very powerful on that side at all. And for an attack, well, they get 1 attack and they carry around a small dagger. So it's by weapon type. Very strange. But they have some strange abilities that help out dryads quite a bit. I mean, number one, they're very hard to pin down. They pretty much only have to walk behind a tree and they disappear. They blend in so perfectly with a tree. And they can always dimension door back to their own tree. However, there are some limitations that come with this. Number one is that they can't be more than about 350 feet away from their tree. Roughly. Now, that's open to interpretation. Some people have said that, no, they have to be within a few dozen feet of their tree. That doesn't make sense. So, but you can always go and refer to the rule book. The rule book is really going to be the final arbiter on anything like this. And, of course, even above the rule book, your dungeon master. Now, this very strange little creature is a female. It's very attractive. And like I said, it has these abilities to kind of fade into the trees around it and dimension door back to its own tree. And you really have to be kind of careful because they have this very special ability, and that's the ability to charm person. Now, that charm person ability is something that they can do 3 times a day. And whoever it's aimed at, and normally it's going to be aimed at somebody who has a very high charisma, 16 or higher, or when it's cornered, when it has no other choice. And when it does do this, it doesn't add a -3 on the victim's saving throw. So if you're targeted by this, it's -3 on your saving roll. That's kind of tough right there. Now, to make things even more interesting, the DRYAD has a 50% magic resistance. So it's not that easy to target with spells either. I mean, it can be hit. Doesn't take any special weapons to do that, but it is not something that's easy to hit with magic. So if you're trying to do something, for instance, like charming it has a pretty good chance of negating that effect. Now, once they do the charm spell, well, then you're in trouble. If you don't make your save, you're going to stay away and be captured by the DRYAD, spirited away to wherever their dimensioned abode is, and you'll be stuck there for 1 to 4 years. That's the good result if you miss your save. On the bad side, there's a 50% chance you'll never be seen again. So, though this is a very low-level creature, I mean, only 2 hit dice, and, it's only going to attack as a 2 hit dice creature. Um, and, of course, an armor class of 9. Yeah, that 50% magic resistance, and that amped up ability to charm and capture potential, I don't know, residents, victims, whatever you want to call it. That's pretty tough stuff. So on the surface, the Dryad doesn't look that bad, but gotta be careful. Now, like I said, us dwarves, we don't run into them that often. We have run into them before when we've gone in, and done some tree cutting, Hey, those forges need stuff to burn. So we'd go in and, sometimes run into dryads, and then we have a big fight, and it's not good. It's bad for our image. Beating up these little tree things is, And, of course, it doesn't help us any in recovering our ability to deal with elves very well, because they don't like that either. Everybody's so fussy. So us dwarves, we're not going to run into them unless we're in the forest, and if we do, we do our best not to try and antagonize the dryads and get the elves all pissed off, and unless of course we're very drunk that day, in which case anything can happen. But of course, in the gaming world, dryads have a different reputation, and we went out to the greater Hornhelm community and spoke with them about what they thought about the dryad. And the dungeon masters came back, and they had a little bit better opinion of this one, because they said it was a lot of fun to use in an adventure. Most people didn't have down the information about how nasty a dryad could be. They all knew that they had this ability to charm, but they didn't realize that it was as strong or as permanent, potentially, as it could be. So in using it with character, or with their, adventuring parties and so forth, they said that, hey, this one in our book ranks about a 3, 3.5. That's pretty good for a 2 hit dice creature. And in talking to the players out there, this is another one that surprised me. They came back and gave it a solid 4. They said they had bad experiences with them because they didn't fully understand what a dryad was capable of, and because of that had ended up in a bad situation, had been spirited away for a year. In another case, a character got lost because they failed their save. The 50% rule came into effect on that after a die roll, and that was it. They were gone. Kind of worse than dying in some ways. But one of the things to watch out for. So really, on the surface, this is a very easy creature, and if you're having to go up against one, and I guess it's possible, they're neutral, so they're not either good or bad, and it depends on how you interact with them. But if you have to go up against them and you're in a wrong situation where they can exert that charm spell, it can be a pretty tough opponent. In any case, my friends, that is the Dryad. We hope you found today's presentation to be interesting, educational, all that kind of good stuff. If you did, please be so kind as to leave us a like and consider subscribing if you haven't. Definitely share with your friends. Leave us a comment. But by all means, come back and see us again real soon. Thank you so much for your very kind support. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!